I hear it all the time. How can I get my team to do more? How can I get my team to engage more? This is what we're talking about today on the Monday Minute Team Building Tip. Okay, it's all about building strong relationships with your team members. I'm Gail Bates, CEO of MyMentorBiz.com, and I help leaders grow million-dollar teams with systems and strategies. And one of the strategies that I'm talking about right now is building those strong relationships with your team members. It's so important. That's how I'm going to share with you today my tip, my one tip on how that's going to happen for you. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd love you to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. I'm really trying to build my channel, and I've got my first 100 and I'm going for my second 100. So I'd appreciate it if you subscribe for me as well. So we're actually doing a series today, and this is the second week in the series of building relationships with team members. Last week, and you might want to go back and watch that video, we talked about having a communication strategy and how you set that up so you don't go crazy. And also, when you have that strategy in place, your team knows what to expect from you, and it shows you how you lead them as well. And then the series goes, we're going to talk about how to communicate with them daily, weekly, and monthly. And then I have a little bonus tip for you at the end. So let's talk about today, communicating with your team daily. How do you communicate with them daily to build those strong relationships with them? Well, there's a number of ways that I recommend, and one of them is having a team Facebook group. Now, you probably already have this team Facebook group, and maybe there's crickets in there. Maybe no one's really engaging. So I want you to think about if you are actually posting daily in that Facebook group, because if you're not, it's important that you do. Okay, so your team needs to hear from you. So it's the third week of January. What's happening with your team? Well, if you have a team that's working, and it could be, you could have a team and you only have 2 that are working, a team of 10 and 2 that are working, or you could have a team of 110 and 22 are working. They need to hear from you daily. So it's the third week of January. They should be well into holding parties. How can you support them to have high sales at those parties? How to get 2 future bookings from those parties, how to identify some recruit leads at those parties. This should be the theme of the third week of January. Now, I have a little worksheet that I work from, which I love this worksheet I work from with my direct sales planner group, and it's setting up a theme for the week. It really helps me stay on track with my posts that I'm posting every day. And of course, you can use a scheduler as well. So making sure that you're posting every day in that Facebook group lets the team know that you're there to support them. And when somebody responds with a like or a comment, you as the leader must go in and comment on the comment, because then you're continuing the conversation with that team member. And that's the conversation is what builds the relationships as well. Next, think about today, who should you be making a phone call? Yes, picking up the phone and saying to a team member, how are you doing? What's happening in your life? Building that relationship with that team member over a phone call could truly make the difference. If you're not talking to them voice to voice, you're never really going to get to know them. So even if it's a phone call, just to say, how are you doing? If you've known that they've had some problem in their life, that they need a little support, sometimes we call that an elevator call, where you're actually calling somebody to make them feel better, okay? So be thinking about daily who on your team might need a phone call. And then we have a note in the mail. I just read somewhere where people open notes in the mail, like a note in the mail from somebody 11 times over anything else. It's the first thing they kind of go to when they get their mail. So just writing a little handwritten note to a team member every day I would have, and I still do this actually, I have a basket on my desk with a bunch of notes in it that I'm sending out to people just to build the relationship with them. Of course, now we have the great old text as well. So sending a quick text to a team member saying, hey, I saw that you held a party last week. How did it go? Or I see you've got a party coming up next week. How can I help you with that? How's the hostess looking? Just those quick texts every day, not to everyone, but to a few people. These are the ways you're going to communicate daily with your team. It comes from you, the leader. And one of the other ways that I've just discovered, well, haven't just discovered, I've been doing it for quite a while, is with my coaching clients. I use Marco Polo. I don't know if you're using Marco Polo, but I love it because it's that voice-to-voice, face-to-face message that really makes a difference. So I have my clients check in with me every Monday. I call it the MCI. And I want to know their accomplishments for the week. I want to know any obstacles they're having, and I want to know their intentions moving forward. So this is a great way for you daily to be communicating with your team, to building those strong relationships. If you're going one day without doing any one of these things, you're missing out on building those relationships with your team. The other way, of course, is when you communicate, you do some recognition. You recognize any little success they're having. It could be just the fact that they picked up the phone and made a phone call, or it could be the fact that they met someone for coffee, or it could be the fact that they actually held a party. Whatever it is, recognize that success when you're communicating, and you will find that your relationship with your team members will grow and really becomes very, very strong. So that's my tip for today on how to communicate with your team daily. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to communicate with them weekly, because it's this communication strategy with your team that's really going to build strong relationships. So my question for you today is, what are you doing every day to communicate with your team? How are you doing this? So leave me a message below and let me know how you're communicating with your team daily. Because when you have a team who just love you, love hearing from you, and you're building those strong relationships, that's when you have a team that becomes not only engaged, not only doing something, they actually become unstoppable. Have a great Monday, everyone.